Trees! They are beautiful, majestic, and an essential piece of our Earth's ecosystem. In this video, I'll be documenting my attempts to collect black walnuts for seed. I'm hoping to grow some walnut trees, and this is the first step. We've got this big beauty of a tree here, which could easily be over 100 years old. It's been in my family for about 50 years now. My grandfather has been kind enough to collect some of the walnuts for me as they've been falling to the ground over the past few weeks. We've got a bit of a stockpile here, so let's dive in. These are black walnuts and seem to be in decent shape. You can see they are browning or blackening a bit. The outer flesh is a bit soft and starting to deteriorate now that the walnut is off of the tree. It looks like there's a bit of mold developing on some of these walnuts. Ideally, we want to find walnuts soon after they fall and get them opened up. These have been set aside for a week or two. Not a big deal, and I'm just going to toss aside the moldy ones. At this point, I'm going to start getting into these walnuts. I'm pushing the fleshy parts off and revealing the inner nut shell. You definitely want to use gloves when handling black walnuts, as they will stain your hands. This fleshy stuff comes apart quite easily, allowing us into the nut. Once I had the nut isolated, I put it into a bucket of water. We're going to be testing viability with a float test. I repeated this process for a bunch of walnuts, removing the flesh and putting the nuts in my bucket. I encountered a number of bugs in close to half of my walnuts. It seems like the walnuts that had their flesh turning brown and black were especially likely to have these small wormy maggot things inside. This really speaks to why we want to be harvesting walnuts quickly after they fall from a tree, so we can get ahead of these natural rotting and insect processes. I simply tossed aside any walnuts that were infested because bugs are gross. At this point, I was down to 11 walnuts. I've got them all husked and in this bucket. You can see that a bunch of them are floating in our water here, which isn't good. Nuts that float aren't going to be viable seed. They are most likely empty and hollow inside. What we want are the nuts that sink, of which I appear to have 3. I cleaned these off as best as I could and then left them out to dry. I'm a little nervous to only have 3 seeds here. It's crazy to compare this to, say, our spruce tree seed harvest, where we quickly had hundreds of seeds. The squirrels have likely been picking over all of the bad walnuts, which could be why so many of mine floated. All in all, collecting these walnuts for seed was pretty straightforward. We want to wear gloves and be proactive, and that's about all you can do. We'll add these to the collection and try growing them in the spring. Be sure to check out the rest of our tree adventures on the channel. Thanks for watching, and happy harvesting!